Happy Friday and welcome back to Drinking by My Gal. My name is Emma and today I'm going to tell you about 9 of the best new releases I've read in the last few months. All of these books either came out in May or are about to come out in June, so you don't have long to wait before they're on your bookshelf. Drinking gin through a straw is now going to be my favourite way to spend super rainy days like this one. Okay, on to the books. The first book that I want to tell you about is called You Don't Know Me by Imran Mahmood. This one came out at the beginning of May, but if you're in the US, it isn't out yet in physical form, but you can download the Audible, and actually I'm going to say to everyone, I recommend that you get the audiobook because this is a book that really works being listened to. Basically, it's about a boy who has been accused of murder. We don't know really anything about him, we don't know his name. As the book starts, we're coming right to the end of his trial. We don't know anything that's happened in the trial so far, we don't know what evidence has been given. The book starts with this boy firing his defendant and saying that he's going to deliver his own closing statement and that he's going to offer brand new evidence and information. From then on, the rest of the book is just his speech, and it's set up like it's the transcript of the recording of his speech. So if you're listening to it on the audiobook, it's even better because it's like you're just listening to the recording of his speech. And the audiobook is narrated by Adam Deacon, who's an actor, so he obviously delivers it really well. I was so hooked by this book. I could not stop listening everywhere I went. I really liked it was just not black and white. A lot of the new evidence he gives really does seem to make him look guilty, but then when you're putting it in the whole story, you're left asking yourself, is he really guilty? It was a really interesting book. I definitely recommend listening to the audiobook. The next book I have to talk about is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And this one came out on the 18th of May, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. This is a really unique book. It's about this woman, Eleanor Oliphant, who is basically extremely lonely. She's not very good at understanding social cues, so she doesn't really get on with anyone in her office, and in between Friday afternoon when she goes home from work and Monday morning, she doesn't see anybody. She has a routine to get her through the weekend, which basically just involves drinking a lot of vodka. She's this very sad, but also kind of instantly likeable and quirky character. So at the beginning of the book, she has just fallen in love with a musician that she saw at a gig, and she's decided that he's the one for her and that she's going to get him, and she starts making all these plans for the two of them to fall in love. But this is interrupted when she happens to be at the scene when an old man falls on the street and is hurt, and Eleanor, along with one of the IT guys from her work, have to help him get to hospital and look after him. And through that, she and the IT guy, Raymond, end up forming this very unlikely friendship, and they really get to understand each other despite the fact that from the outside they're both kind of social outcasts. So that's the premise of the sort of quirky, heartwarming part of the story, but there's also a mystery running underneath it. We know that Eleanor is in touch with her mother. They have these weekly phone calls where her mother is incredibly verbally abusive to Eleanor over the phone, but we don't know where the mother is calling from, what's her story, when the last time they saw each other was, but there are definitely hints dropped that there is some darkness to their past. So the book is this sort of amazing mix of these two genres. It is a mystery, and I was really dying to find out the answers, but even more important than that are the characters themselves and what they're up to now and how much you fall in love with them. So just really unusual and interesting book, definitely recommend. The next one on my list is kind of cheating because it has actually been out since last year in the UK, but I just got sent it because it just came out at the end of May in the US. So I'm sneaking it in if we're going on American release dates, and that is The Descent of Man by Grayson. This is a non-fiction book all about the construction of masculinity and how dangerous and harmful it is to men, to society as a whole, everything that I love to read about. So I've been really enjoying this one, and I definitely recommend. It's a nice, easy read, it's not very long, it's got illustrations throughout it, and it's told with this kind of dry humour, even though what it's talking about is actually pretty serious. A lovely book that came out on the 1st of June was When Dimple Met Rishi, which is a YA love story about 2 Indian American teenagers whose families set up an arranged marriage, and they meet at this tech summer camp. Rishi is very keen to go along with traditions, go along with this marriage. Dimple doesn't even know it's happening until she meets him. She is really there because she's passionate about technology and developing this app. So when they first meet, they're not too keen on each other, but I don't think it's a spoiler, you can probably guess to say they fall in love, and I really enjoyed it. It was lovely and feminist, and Dimple's passion for developing her app was a really strong part of the story. It wasn't just a background to the love story, and there was also more nuance to the parent tradition of these arranged marriages. It wasn't just written off as horrible and old-fashioned and primitive from a different culture. You know, it was not what Dimple wanted, and she makes a very good case of why it's not what she as a woman wants, but it was still treated with respect as a tradition. So overall, I just really enjoyed that book. Another YA book that came out on the 1st of June was One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. And this was about a bunch of teenagers who are all in detention together when one of them dies under suspicious circumstances. So instantly they are all treated as suspects. The boy who died ran a gossip blog which had run lots of horrible stories about lots of people in the school, including everyone in that room. So they each had a motive for why they might have wanted to have killed him. I haven't really read many YA thriller mysteries before, so that was a fun kind of genre and I did really enjoy it. A lot of people have described this book as being like The Breakfast Club, and I think that's probably a large part because they meet at the beginning all in detention together, and also because they are all from different cliques around the school. So that was really fun. I definitely got that comparison. And then also I guess like The Breakfast Club is that despite them all being so different, you really like each of the characters and you can see how it makes sense for them to form this friendship. So yeah, I would describe that one mainly as just a lot of fun. I'm going to do another cheat here with the American release dates, but this book is He Said, She Said by Erin Kelly. It came out in April in the UK, so it's still pretty new, and it came out on June the 6th in the US. I'm going to show it like this because, as I've talked about in previous videos, I really don't like the tagline, "Who do you believe?" I don't think it's really appropriate in a story that's about a rape case. But despite the seemingly offensive tagline, it is actually, I thought, a really good book about a rape case. It really does show the sexism that goes into these cases. And the twist in here is fantastic. So the whole way through reading this book, I was enjoying it, but I was really wary because I'd been put off by the tagline, I'd heard there was going to be a twist, and I thought if the twist was going to be that all along it turns out the woman was lying about being raped, then that's just not a book that I'm interested in reading. That's not a twist I want to hear. I'm just going to go right ahead and reassure you that is not the twist. The actual twist is much more sinister, definitely throws this one into the domestic noir genre. I really enjoyed this one. I'd actually quite like to read it again. Okay, coming out on the 13th of June, we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this for me was another 5-star read. I wasn't expecting to fall so in love with it. I thought it would just be quite light and fun, but I really adored it, and it actually did make me cry. It's about a young journalist named Monique who is contacted by Evelyn Hugo, a reclusive old Hollywood star who used to be the absolute biggest movie star and now hasn't really been seen publicly for many years. Monique is a pretty unknown journalist, but for some reason Evelyn Hugo has chosen her to do her first interview in decades. And so the majority of the book tells the story of Evelyn Hugo's life, and it's divided up into 7 chapters, each one the 7 husbands that Evelyn had and what role they played in her life. And it tackles sexism in Hollywood, it tackles domestic abuse, it's got really good bi-representation. It's such a rich story that I was so engrossed in. And the whole way along we know that we're going to find out how Evelyn Hugo's life is entangled with Monique's life in a tragic and shocking way, which I did not see coming, and it really hit me hard when it's revealed. I just honestly can't recommend this book enough. It is a fun summer read. It's got love, and it's got the glamour of Hollywood. It is one that I would enjoy reading on a beach on holiday, but just be prepared that you might cry off all your sunscreen. Out on the 27th of June, we have The Child by Fiona Barton. This is a crime thriller by the same author who wrote The Widow, and if you read that one, you'll recognise the journalist Kate Waters, because she appears in this one as well. And the premise is that Kate Waters comes across this story where the skeleton of a baby has been found on a building site, and she instantly wants to know what's the story there. Who is this baby? And as well as Kate's perspective, the story is then told through all these different women's point of view. There's a woman whose baby was stolen decades ago from the hospital 24 hours after she gave birth to her. There's a woman who used to live in the house where the baby was found. We get the story of her mother as well. And the more Kate finds out about this baby, the more we're going to see how all these women's lives come together. And the last book I'm going to talk about today is Last Seen by Lucy Clarke, and that one comes out on the 29th of June. This was a mystery that I'm going to go right ahead and say I only gave 3 stars to. I thought it was only okay. But if you like mysteries and thrillers and you're looking for a twisty, turny, surprising book to read over the summer, this is a good one to read. The story is about 2 best friends, Sarah and Isla, who every summer live in beach huts next to each other, and they each had sons at the same time. And tragically, 7 years ago, their sons went out swimming together, got caught in a current, and only one was brought safely back to shore. So our story starts 7 years to the day after that, when the surviving boy, Jacob, goes missing on the anniversary of his friend's disappearance. There are all these suspicious characters who live in the other beach huts, and there were a lot of twists and turns. So if that's what you're after, this book is the one for you. So those are 9 of the most exciting new releases that I recommend in time for summer. But definitely do leave me a comment below if you've read any new books that you particularly recommend. And of course, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and hit that subscribe button for new videos every Friday. See you next time!